Presentation on the authorship of Hebrews, a topic modeling analysis. There's a digital transformation that's occurring in humanities research. Digital tools are being employed to enhance the research that's done in the humanities. There are several humanities projects that are digitizing large collections of archival information, which permits researchers to connect with these classic works in new ways. Data in the humanities is largely unstructured, and analysis of unstructured data with a complex organization is done based on several approaches. One would be the statistical characteristics of the natural language text. Another is the network modeling for analysis of complex linguistics. A third would be longitudinal analysis of language, and a fourth would be studying the nature of syntax. Among the many collections digitized is the New Testament. In addition to textual criticism and linguistic analysis, now digital methods can be used in its research. The main objective of this study is to test the hypothesis that Paul is the author of Hebrews, and I will use digital methods in this analysis. The methodology used is topic modeling. So when we go through the digital transformation in humanities, we'll cover topic modeling, the Gutenberg project, and also the Book of Hebrews itself. The hypothesis is that Paul is the author of Hebrews, and in the methodology section, we'll discuss topic modeling in more detail. We'll go into perplexity, which is the method I use to choose the number of topics for the analysis, and the validation method used to validate the research, leave one out, cross-validation. We'll discuss the results and the implications as well. The main objective of this study is to test the hypothesis that Paul is the author of Hebrews using digital methods. The methodology used is topic modeling, which is a textual analytic approach used in the digital humanities that uses machine learning to search for natural groupings in a corpus. A key assumption behind topic modeling is that each word in a document is selected by the author in two steps. First, the selection of topics to address in the document, and second, the selection of the words and phrases the author is familiar with to express each topic. The purpose of topic modeling is to discover the latent structure of topics that generated a corpus of documents. This research again uses topic modeling to classify the New Testament book of Hebrews as to authorship. And it does this by finding the latent structure of Hebrews and comparing the topics that Paul used in his books with the topics in Hebrews. My assumption is that the topics to be found in Pauline books are distinct, and we can use the proportion of those topics found in another book to classify it as being authored by Paul. Topic modeling will reveal the proportion of words in a book that are generated from a topic. And with that, I can estimate if certain topics are strongly associated with certain books. Latent Dirichlet allocation is an approach to topic modeling that estimates the mixture of words associated with a topic and the mixture of topics associated with a document. It is based on the distributional hypothesis that similar topics use similar words, and also on the mixing hypothesis that a document has a mixture of topics along with an associated statistical distribution. Other analytic methods have been used to classify observations, Vercoletti and Everett discuss the application of cluster analysis as a tool of classification. In an early example of applying digital tools to questions in the humanities, Rofe used cluster analysis to answer the question posed by archaeologists and art historians about the number of sculptures at the Apadana in Persepolis. Atkinson finds that the ability to find hidden structures is an advantage topic modeling has over traditional clustering methods. The generative process in topic modeling helps uncover associations in a corpus. Mimno and McCallum were able to use LDA, latent Dirichlet allocation, with 3 large books to effectively form a recommender that finds related books. The book of Hebrews is written as an encouragement to believers. Other epistles in the New Testament owe their topical expression to Hebrews, including Peter's epistles. In his inquiry for the Archbishop of Canterbury, Forster in 1838 also analyzed the literary structure and style of Paul and the other writers. His conclusion is that the other New Testament authors had their works influenced by Paul. The anonymous book of Hebrews was first attributed to Paul over 100 years after it was written. Other authors have been suggested, including Luke, Barnabas, and Silvanus. Manson, in 1951, found compelling stylistic similarities between Hebrews and Stephen's speech in Acts. Pauline authorship would lend additional weight to the book, with Paul learning scriptures under the guidance of Gamaliel, one of the more renowned rabbinic scholars, and with Paul then forming the methods of argument and expression for his later works in a formal setting. The arguments for authorship over the years have been based on external testimony as well as internal proofs. The King James Version attributes authorship to Paul, while both Calvin and Luther rejected Paul as the author of Hebrews. By and large, modern Western criticism rejects Paul as the author of Hebrews, noting that while the writing style has both similarity and differences with Paul's other works, the differences in the sophistication of the Greek in Hebrews are significant. In contrast, the Eastern Church has consistently advanced Paul as the author of the text. This study fills a gap in the literature by applying digital methods to investigate this question. This is part of the digital transformation in the humanities. Access to large humanities data sets is available through the Gutenberg Project. An advantage of the Gutenberg Project in digital humanities research is it is a large catalog set of literary works that is open source. Project Gutenberg is a volunteer effort started in 1971 that has grown into an online digital library with more than 60,000 volumes that have been uploaded by the community. Interested parties can access the library through its website. Books come with metadata that contains bibliographic information on the work. The New Testament is available in the Gutenberg Project. In this research, it is accessed and read into an R program that is used to apply natural language computations. The Gutenberger code library in R has a Gutenberg download function that takes the Gutenberg ID of a book as a parameter and returns the book as a data frame containing the text. The text processing functions of R can then be applied. The downloaded New Testament books are collected into a corpus which is then composed into a document term matrix. The 27 books in the New Testament deal with similar contexts and have a common context. It's safe to assume that any differences in the topics are due to choices made by authors rather than the genre of one set of books versus that of another set. Every book is treated as a document and is a mixture of topics. The extent a document uses words and phrases from a particular topic associates the document with that topic. The research question is whether Paul wrote the book of Hebrews, and the research will classify Hebrews based on the Pauline topical content of the book of Hebrews. An approach is developed that uses LDA as its foundation to examine the topical similarity between a document in question with Paul's corpus in the New Testament. Would Paul's corpus reveal a hidden structure that could generate the document in question, Hebrews, from its words and phrases? Topic modeling is used to discover which books in the New Testament gather into Pauline books and those that gather into other author books in a way that the authorship of Hebrews can be evaluated. So we'll now discuss the methodology used in the research. In this particular study, the R programming language is used to collect the books of Paul into one corpus and the books by the other authors of the New Testament into a second corpus. The two are merged into an NT New Testament corpus with a document field that's added to show Paul or other as appropriate. A document term matrix is then formed, and the appropriate number of topics is calculated, and with that, an LDA model is produced. After this processing on the main corpus, the next step is to convert the target book into a document term matrix. This matrix is then run through the posterior algorithm along with the topic model that was just generated. LDA is also used to evaluate each book of the New Testament as to the proportion of content derived from the Pauline topics, and the proportion from other authors' topics. This again is done using the posterior analysis function for the LDA model. The results returned from the posterior analysis include a distribution of the target book over the model's topics. In other words, what percentage of a book is associated with each topic. Then Hebrews can be compared with the proportion of it derived from Paul with each of the other books in the New Testament, and when we derive their proportions that were derived from Paul. The New Testament document term matrix that is formed is going to be used in determining perplexity as well. So this document term matrix of the New Testament is fed into the LDA function available from the topics models code in R. In addition to the document term matrix, the number of topics K must also be included as a parameter. The perplexity measure of the resulting topic modeling can be used to compare the effectiveness of different values for K. Topic models in R has a function called perplexity that calculates the perplexity for a model. This scoring can be used to compare different models, having a different number of topics, or in other words, a different K. The model with the lowest perplexity score is considered the best. The perplexity score is used in this study to determine the number of topics. The last aspect of methodology is validation. Leave one out cross-validation is a useful testing process for small data sets. The object is to compare predictions made by a model against actual values. In leave one out cross-validation, one data element, in this case, one book, is used as a testing set while the other books generate the model. The model is then applied to the book, the one that was left out in the training set, and proportions noted. This is repeated with each of the elements in the data set, in this case, each of the books being used as a test data set. So this is the leave one out cross-validation, and it found that the model was very effective. Zhang and Wang consider leave one out cross-validation to be an effective testing process. Forster, again in his letter to the Archbishop of Canterbury in 1838, found that Paul influenced other New Testament writers, but did not find an influence of the other writers on Paul. Considering this, the books authored by Paul should show a high content of Paul's topics, while on the other hand, the books of the other authors should show a varying balance between Paul's topics and the other authors' topics. So let's go on to the results. First, we'll consider the results for our perplexity analysis. A processing loop was established to compute the topic model for each different number of topics varying from 2 through 50. In other words, a K of 2 through a K of 50, and then derive the perplexity for each of those models. The results are shown in this figure, with the lowest perplexity score occurring at 3 before starting to rise to higher levels. A lower perplexity score indicates a more effective number of topics. A K of 3 for the corpus of Paul's books and the other authors' books in the New Testament was used for this study. Next, let's go on to the results for authorship. The topic model returned by the LDA contains several matrices, including the gamma matrix, which has the per document per topic probabilities. These are aggregated into a structure that has the topics associated with each document. Next, the target book, and each book in turn is the target book, uses the topic model for a posterior analysis that shows the topics associated with that book. For each book, the percentage of Pauline topics in its topical structure is shown in this particular table. And the results are graphed into the following figure, which is a little easier to visualize. So in this, we see that the book of Hebrews has 45% of it generated from topics that were also used to generate Pauline text. The books with Paul as the known author show a high percentage of the text is generated by the Pauline topics from the LDA model. These books, Romans through Philemon, and they're in blue in the center of the chart, range from 99% to 100% of the topics being generated from those generating Paul. There's a low percentage of Pauline topics in the Gospels and Acts and the book of Revelation, effectively 0. The other epistles, starting with Hebrews in red and continuing to the right in gold, show a varying adoption of Pauline topics, but they do not come close to the proportions shown by the works known to be authored by Paul. The range of Pauline topics found in the non-Pauline epistles range from 34 to 57%. The epistle to the Hebrews is in the middle of that range. These findings do not support Paul as the author of Hebrews, but like the other epistles in this set, Hebrews does borrow from Paul's method of argument and his expressions. The results of the Pauline books are much as would be expected. An average of 99.8% of the content in Paul's books are generated by the topics closely associated with Paul. The average of the books not authored by Paul is 25.74%. The book of Hebrews comes in at 45.8%. First Peter shows 55.64% of its content generated from Pauline topics. These results do not support the conclusion that Hebrews was written by Paul. The approach used in this study produced results that are as expected for the books by the known authors. The LDA analysis in this study finds no support for the hypothesis that Paul was the author of Hebrews, and this provides an element of support for the modern Western opinion on the authorship of Hebrews. The contribution of this paper is the application of digital technology to theological analysis to create new processes for theological research. This is part of the digital transformation in the humanities. Another objective of the study is to develop a framework to discover and surface insights from disparate and unstructured data sources. A major limitation of the framework used for this research is that it is currently capable of classification, but not for digital studies on topic influence, the evolution of a topic over time, and correlation of topics. Digital methods for document influence models, and Shalit, Weinstein, and Chekchik in 2013 have published a model for doing that. Dynamic topic models, and Bly and Lafferty in 2006 published a paper for a model to do that. And then correlated topic models, Bly and Lafferty again in 2007 published a paper on how to accomplish that, have been developed but are not currently available in the framework used in this research. A practical implication of this study is that it builds on the digital library initiatives such as the Gutenberg Project. These projects have expanded our ability to digitize scholarly resources. To explore ideas using these resources, studies like this paper are needed to apply digital methods to digitized resources. We can now apply both quantitative and qualitative research methods to a wide variety of cultural texts. Another implication of this study is that it began development of a modular framework to do analysis on the now available digital libraries. This framework can substitute various tools to tailor the analytic process to a particular set of data from the wide variety of source categories in the humanities. This study tested a straightforward hypothesis by building a set of modules to access, organize, and analyze with the purpose of classifying one of the books as to authorship. Other questions such as topic evolution over time, correlation among topics, and topic influence on other topics require more framework development and similar studies. For this purpose, the programming code has been made available on GitHub, and others may add to the foundation to create a more general purpose tool that can be used in digital transformation of the humanities. Thank you.